World politics is trying to catch up to the changing times. Significant developments are taking place all over the world. One such major move is the U.S. adopting the Inflation Reduction Act, or the IRA. Today we're going to talk about this act and how its electric vehicle tax credits have got the EU all riled up. We'll also get into what's being done to address the differences between the two nations on this matter. Starting with, what are the electric vehicle tax credits all about? The IRA was signed into U.S. law in August 2022. It's kind of a big deal because it proves the U.S.'s commitment towards decarbonizing industries. With this bill, the process of increasing green finances is set to begin. Through this, a whopping $369 billion will go into setting up things so that the industry is more mindful of the climate going forward. This is going to be done by having policies in place that reward activities that'll cut the usage of greenhouse gases in the future. The act contains a whole lot of stuff to contribute to that goal, but not everything is directly linked to climate change. However, electric vehicles, or EVs, are mentioned in it, and the policy relating to them has electrified many people and nations around the globe. Apparently, the act provides broad tax credits on EVs, which is something that the people over at the European Union, or EU, are just not okay with. Credits worth $7,500 have been set aside for the new EVs manufactured either in the US or in any of the countries that the US has got a free trade agreement with. This means that this huge advantage is going to be available to only selected countries. Now, even though the US has got around 20 free trade agreements, it just so happens that none are in Europe. Neither is there one with the EU. Next up, it all sounds okay, so what seems to be the problem? Look, the tax credits on EVs are great. However, we run into problems when we investigate just who can benefit from them. By all accounts, it's the production requirements tied to the credits that many countries are now speaking out against. The EU's been particularly vocal. According to the body, the tax measures are such that their coming into effect would create risks of retaliation. At the heart of the matter is the fact that these tax breaks will only go into vehicles primarily being assembled in North America. Requirements that have got to do with the assembly include matters such as recycling and processing, mineral extraction, and component-wise assembling and manufacturing of batteries. As per the requirement of the IRA, the rules around these things are going to be pretty strict. For example, by the time 2024 rolls around, to take the tax credit, 40% of the minerals for the battery must come from the US or from a country that's got a free trade agreement with them. Also, the batteries must include 50% North American content. These percentages will further rise in the future. Now here's the rub. It's not going to be helping the nations that are not the US or its free trade partners. In fact, the other countries are going to take a blow in this sector because this is where all the businesses are going to want to be. Further up, what's Europe got to say about this? According to the letter that the European Commission submitted to the US Treasury, the act could be damaging in the future. The letter detailed that it could be bad for the US and its trading partners, as it'll create market distortions and inefficiencies. Also, it could influence the green technology transition around the world. The EU's pretty clear that the EV credit will be discriminatory, but they also maintain that the act's biased in other ways too. These include credits for generation from renewables, clean production of electricity, and investment in clean energy and fuel. According to the body, IRA is set up to provide subsidies that favor a selected few, and these subsidies are being rolled out through the elaborate credit plans promised within it. These will influence sustainable aviation fuel, hydrogen production through green tech, and advanced manufacturing production. The EU's actually shared in the past that they're going to be adopting their own program that'll subsidize the development of green technologies in order to compete with the stipulations of the IRA. The current EU president has said that competition's a great thing if you've got a level playing field. She further elaborated that America's generous tax breaks are poised to lure away the companies and businesses investing in the EU. Moving on, let's see what Japan's saying about the plan's EV tax breaks. Japan's one of the world's leading manufacturers of automobiles. They've cited that they've got serious concerns about the IRA's strategic tax cuts. It's to the point that they've warned that their operations in the US might be disrupted in the future. Japan's statement pointed out that the country's been investing in the US for 40 years now, and as a result, they've created well-paid jobs and have contributed to the U.S. as good corporate citizens. The country went on to make it clear that the new requirements around EV taxes aren't in line with the work policy that the country shares with the U.S. Up next, here's what Brazil and North Korea think. Brazil requested that the U.S. government provide more details regarding the conditions on mineral extraction and final assembly. They've also specifically stated that such restrictions may have a negative effect on the mining sector of Brazil. South Korea, however, has asked for a grace period of 3 years so their government might have the time to conclude their planned investments in the U.S. What's more, the opponents of the new tax plan are speaking out. People who don't support the plan have said that the plan totally violates the rules of international trade. The EU also contributed to this stance. According to their statement, the tax discriminations defy the commitments the countries have made through the World Trade Organization. This aspect can be further explained with clarity through the words of Michael Plouffe, who works as an assistant professor of international political economy at the University College London. He explained that the EV tax production requirements actually disobey the principles at the heart of the international trade regime. Now for the manufacturers weighing in on the matter too. Multiple industry associations and car manufacturing companies have also shared their thoughts on the tax plan as it's currently available. The Japan Automobile Manufacturers Association has remarked that this EV tax plan could add an extraordinary burden upon the stakeholders, and this might have a negative effect on the consumer's ability to purchase. This is a body that's got members like Nissan, Mitsubishi, and Honda, which employ around 110,000 workers in the U.S. The Korea Automobile Manufacturers Association is also deeply concerned regarding the legislation. The Hyundai Motor Group is of the opinion that the North American assembly requirement is not fair, as it might be an illegal barrier to entry into the U.S. market. U.S. automakers are speaking out too. Ford Motors has requested that the government clarify the tax plan's primary provisions. They've also urged that the rules around the electric vehicles tax be eased so that more EVs may become eligible for it. Next up, how are the U.S. and EU planning on handling the pushback on the new tax breaks? In October, a task force was established by the U.S. and EU to see to the issues raised against the tax plan. It was to be done through high-level meetings. The head of the World Economic Forum said that the task force is a move that's most welcome. Furthermore, moving forward, experts suggest that green policies will go on to contribute to job creation and opportunities in the future. Further up, cooperation on the matter has already begun. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said that an efficient resolution to the trade dispute was being sought by the partners. At a strategic trade discussion, he shared that the U.S. had heard the concerns of their European friends about certain areas of Biden's law. He added that Biden had, in fact, encouraged them to address the issues after listening to all the viewpoints. Blinken said in Maryland that they'd already begun with this task. He said that the discussion was held around tax credits on electric vehicles. He explained that the conversation also touched on the topic of minerals and supply chains. The plan is to work through differences, as Biden had directed. Finishing up with what the EU's got to say about working with the U.S. After the discussion on the 5th of December 2022, the EU's Trade Commissioner, Valdis Dombrovskis, was hopeful about the whole thing. He said that the sit-down helped to take things forward with reference to the Inflation Reduction Act of the U.S. He stated that he was more optimistic upon leaving the meeting than he had been entering it. But since a lot of the new things would come into effect starting January 1st, 2023, much work was still to be done. Hope they work it out soon, as a smooth transition to a green future is really important for the world right now. That's all for today from our side. Do you think that the US and the EU would be able to work through their differences on the US EV tax plan? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Goodbye for now, and see you in the next video.